because I think in today's world, anything can happen. That the impact of AI is very big and we're very aware of that. So we don't want to become complacent. We need to consistently, we're at conferences. We want to be knowledgeable, ready, constantly. We've got a very large technology and R&D team. We're constantly looking at how can we transform and be different and better and offer that best-in-class support and solutions. So I suppose that's also an answer to your question around where is the potential threat. So it's a threat because anything can come up. We're seeing lots of fascinating things coming up on AI, and it's also a huge opportunity.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Pedro, and today's guest is Nicole Sorrell, co-founder of Lumina Learning and a business psychologist passionate about helping people understand themselves and each other so teams can truly connect, communicate, and collaborate. Nicole previously built the Insights Discovery business in South Africa and went on to co-create Lumina Learning to offer a more human, dynamic approach to personality and psychometrics. Her work helps leaders and organizations build resilience, empowering leadership, agility, innovation, and high-performing culture. She is also co-founder of The Growth Project, a charity that pairs business leaders with emerging nonprofits to drive transformational leadership for the greater good. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm excited to have you here, okay? And before we get into what you do now, I'm curious about how this all actually started, right? So what was going on in your life when coaching became more than just an idea?
So I've always been fascinated about the human dynamic, partly looking at my own journey from some childhood dynamics and challenges all the way through to my marriage and relationship. And I wanted to really understand what is it that makes people behave the way they do. And I've got an optimistic, positive outlook, and I'm very forgiving. So I wanted to really understand that there's got to be more meaning when relationships don't work out. And I've been married for 36 years in that dynamic of the relationship, which I think I created based on the game playing field from my childhood, which didn't serve me from maybe a joy perspective, served me in terms of having 3 incredible children, and really served me in terms of having a passion to create a coaching business that could exponentially impact and grow beyond myself and my time. I wanted to answer the unanswered question and maybe fulfill the void that I was experiencing in my world. So I wanted to try and understand my own relationship in that challenge and find an answer to it. And that's what led me to this work of really diving deep into self-awareness, understanding others, and that communication dynamic.
Interesting. And at what point did it stop feeling like a side thing or a calling and start feeling like an actual business you were responsible for?
So I worked in corporates for about 10 years. Then I moved into consulting work, especially within the call center environment. And then as I was working in coaching, I realized the value of using personality assessments. I started doing my research. I discovered Insights in Scotland. There was a gap in the South Africa market, went there and then negotiated to bring that to South Africa, develop the tool locally there, and really found that I was able to grow in the work, the impact that I wanted to make by building communities of practitioners that had commonality around wanting to make a difference, but also really just infuse my passion, my spiritual awareness, and using a methodology that I felt could ripple. It came to a bit of a block when I felt there was a ceiling on that, because with the insights tool, there was a lot of value with 4 colors, 4 quadrant, but I really felt very passionate that people are much more than that. You can't kind of categorize or stereotype people into a model of 4. We're huge, we're nuanced, the complexity, we move, we shift, we grow. And so myself and a colleague decided, let's get back to basics. And we went to the personality research. We, developed a tool based on the Big 5 personality theory and created a tool that was not saying this is who you are. This is a portrait. We call it your spark portrait. This is a reflection of how you're showing up right now at multiple levels. So we weren't making any assumptions or inferences. We measure in a very deep way to give people data, like a mirror, saying, okay, this doesn't define me, but this is a reflection back around how I'm showing up right now. How am I being? Where's there alignment in my life? Where's there dissonance? And we now developed a whole series of assessments and processes really to help people see where they're at in relation to their values, their purpose, their impact on their own vitality, on their relationships, really on their results in their life, to empower them to take that next step, to see themselves more deeply and differently, and know that they always have agency and, in fact, their accountability. They're accountable to be the best versions of themselves.
Interesting. And once you were out there helping people, right, who did you naturally end up attracting? I mean, when did you realize, these are the people I work best with?
So I love community, and I get very excited when I meet like-minded people who have got the same purpose. And I'm currently a member of many special communities of these like-minded people. And I think within the Lumina community, I naturally will attract them because that's where the excitement kind of gets ignited. When people, for example, a core underlying philosophy in the work of Lumina Learning and really in all of my conversations, whether it's with a friend or with a leadership team, is all about that space in between. So there's Viktor Frankl's done a lot of work on logotherapy in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, and he inspired the understanding that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is your power to choose your response, and in your response lies your growth and your freedom. So the work we do is all about getting humans to see we don't have to just be reactive. We're able, once we agree there's a space, we can expand that space. And then we have agency and choice around how we're going to engage in this moment. So we can be triggered, things can happen around us, but we don't need to come from a triggered habit. So our work is really moving people from an unconscious reaction to a conscious response. And it's just a world of understanding, integrating neuroscience and neuroplasticity and really understanding the brain and how we function when we get triggered, when we're under threat. And that ripples to a lot of the processes that we do. So for example, if we're working with leaders and leaders want to ignite their team performance, for example, it all starts with the leaders having that self-awareness. Who am I in space? Who am I when I walk into a room? Am I creating a feeling of threat and fear where people just unconsciously shut down? They show up, but then stop thinking. Or am I creating a space of connection, of possibility, literally before they even speak? So it's about that awareness of who am I and how am I impacting all of my kind of surrounding tribes, whether I'm at home or I'm at work. And once they understand the impact of that, and the impact around thought, innovation, productivity, it has a huge effect around the overall success for them and for their businesses.
I really like that quote about we don't have to be reactive, controlling those feelings, those emotions. Yeah, that really resonates with me. I can see how powerful that is. But let's zoom out for a second, right? If someone ends up working with you today, how do they usually find their way to you in the first place? And how do they join that community?
So we are always looking for like-minded people to join our community. And it can happen in a few different ways. So they could be an independent coach and they need a system and a tool that's going to anchor their work and empower their work for greater impact. So maybe they coach leaders, but they also are looking at the ripple down throughout the organization for team coaching. So we have powerful processes that can support coaches, psychologists, independent people who are working at the individual level or team organizational level to really help them transform and sustainably make change. And there's so much I could speak about how to create sustainable change, which I'm very excited about. But from a Lumina perspective, it's all about enabling our coachee to be empowered for their learning journey. So you have a coach, but we also have what's called a digital spark coach, whereby in between the coaching sessions, the coachee is supported to continue their reflection and to do their work with a beautiful process that takes their spark data, gives them, coaching questions. They've got to have an actual coach. It's very powerful to really, transfer that learning very practically. Another tool that we have is something called Journey to Composure, which is one of my favorite moments because everything changes. The people that I've had the privilege of working with, years later, they come back to me and they say, I've had 20 years of therapy. I've got to tell you that Journey to Composure changed my life forever. And really what we're looking at is what are their triggers? So how are they showing up in the world in a way that doesn't serve them? It could be that they don't have boundaries, they're too passive. It could be that they get triggered and become very aggressive and controlling, or that they're too impulsive. They show up in many different ways. We get the data from the Spark to help them understand how they're showing up. And then it's about what is the pain point, because change in behavior won't happen unless the pain is strong enough to motivate change. The brain likes competency. So there's a whole Journey to Composure is a process to understand the impact, the consequences of your current ways of being. And then it takes you into understanding your inner talk, your kind of bodily reaction. So we get really clear on the core limiting belief, the childhood kind of triggers that's created those core limiting beliefs. We see the chains, we look at them, we loosen the chains that are holding us kind of captive to those beliefs and that behavior. And then once they're loosened, we slowly unhook. Thank you for serving me. It's time to release you. And then we use breath to come back to recenter. And then we go on this kind of journey where we accompany them. We have a big mat on the floor, or we can do it online to walk with them as they process the understanding of their behavior to come through a journey to the other side where they are now released from those chains and more free to behave and choose their behavior in a way that serves them. So they become more in control of their previous emotional triggers. Then they slowly become more in control. So that the monkey leading the elephant, they start controlling the elephant, the mind. They start controlling their behavior. They become their observer. Initially, they see it. They can't help themselves, but it eventually comes together where they gain control and then navigate their life in a way where they have high emotional intelligence. They can pause, they can observe, and then they can engage in a meaningful way that creates connection, and not just connection, but they release and create space. So their whole team start, they want to come together. They want to collaborate, they want to partner, and they start thinking more, becoming more agile and innovative, and everyone starts spiraling around them. And the workspace becomes much more joyful. It's a place where they want to be because for the first time maybe in their life, the team members are seen and they feel significant in their contributions. They can see the impacts. And then it's all about creating a learning environment where feedback flows, the good, the bad. So there's many aspects, both processes and systems and assessments, that when the coaches come to us and they say, I want to be part of this because they want the set of tools to help them land their solutions, but also it holds their messaging. If they're spiritually inclined, the system holds their messaging in a very grounded way. That's one. And then the community itself are very connected. They collaborate a lot. They then go off and form their own different kind of hubs and consultancies. They work together. So I love it. I love the people, conversations, the possibilities of what we kind of co-create and the infrastructure of the system that it helps us land our messaging. So we all have different messaging. I have my own unique messaging, but we all share that. We all grow and learn. And the Lumina Spark processes just hold it. They give us a good holding ground to help us also replicate and ripple.
Interesting. Yeah, you You mentioned something I was going to ask, but you already answered, which is the mechanics behind the scenes, right? So, what does that actually look like from their perspective? So, we're talking about the journey to composure. You gave me the full picture, Nicole, and your work seems pretty involved, right? We were talking about managing a community, building a community. So, how do you think about managing your time and energy so the business doesn't start owning you? And I know you're passionate about it. It's just about the how do you manage capacity?
So I've got, thankfully, an amazing team, and they will have different responsibilities. So, for example, one person leads on building the practitioner community. I have another person who looks after all the technical needs for the practitioners. By the way, I didn't say our practitioners are made up of different groups. We have client practitioners who get qualified. Maybe they're in the learning and development OD areas within corporates. They're a community where they can kind of share with like-minded peers. And then we have the independents. So we have people in our team who will specialize with the client practitioners, some with the business practitioners, to build that community and make sure that they're supported. So we're able to see in our system when people are buying points for the assessment, so we can engage with them before and say, how are you doing? Can we support you in any way after they've engaged? How did it go? So we have that. We have monthly calls, community calls. Well, two actually, one for the different countries. So we're in 60 countries now. And we also have a global call whereby people come together. We have a lot of client speakers, guest speakers. So I think we're a very professional organization. We're very focused on always giving our best, gathering best in class solutions and thinking to feedback. There's a lot of thought leadership amongst our practitioner base. We're about 18,000 people now globally, and we want to create intimacy, but within the broader community. So there's many levels of community.
Great. Yeah, no, it's good that you have that team that helps you so don't stretch yourself too thin. That's key so you can stay in the lane of genius, right? That's absolutely key so you can deliver the most for your business and for the people you serve. That's great. And looking forward a bit, what's the direction you're aiming this business towards? Are you thinking more about growth, leverage, building even a bigger team, or refining what already works? I mean, what feels most exciting right now?
So in terms of our future strategy, it's really about growth. We want to have amazing clients where we are the confidants, where we work side by side with them, implementing our methodology, supporting them. So every time I get a client, I'll look for the best match amongst my practitioners. And sometimes I'll have 10 practitioners working in one client where they'll be doing coaching and workshops. The practitioners, of course, that they come in without the expectation that we're providing work. It's very important that they know that they're independent. So they use our methodology for their own clients. But we also very much want to continue to build our direct client base. But I love giving work to our practitioners. It really excites me when I know that we can add value and give them revenues. So, I have at the moment in South Africa an amazing business development manager who is very experienced and works very closely with the clients. But I'd like to expand that. There's been a lot of, what's the word? So my time is, well, I'm not saying this right. One moment. I have a lot of different business interests that are spiraling. So my time is kind of stretched. And what I want to do is, no, I don't want to say that. Hold on a sec. Okay, I know what I can say. At the moment, I have many diverse responsibilities. So I support Lumina Learning Global, where we're developing partners around the world. And I spend time investing my energy in those partners, supporting their success. I'm involved in different territories, and sometimes I'll even support practitioners. But I need to give more, or want to give more attention to the South Africa market and maybe have more account managers. But it's a bit tricky because we have, for example, like over 500 practitioners in South Africa who also, whilst they're successful in their own right, we can leverage them as associates so they can account manage our direct clients. So the main focus, I think, is just developing the direct clients and building our practitioner base so that we are continuously growing and diverse and bringing new ideas, innovation, and a fresh outlook. Yeah, I don't think that answered your question well. Maybe can I just summarize the whole thing quite around the growth
Sure.
option for.
You have the floor.
Okay. So there's two levels of growth. On the one side, I'm involved in Lumina Learning Global as a co-founder director. So we want to grow by finding the right partners in the right territory who really have the capability to implement and scale the business effectively. On the other side, there's the specific territory that I manage, which is South Africa. So we're focused on developing direct clients, ideally bring them in to become practitioners, to be qualified so they can roll it out in their own businesses, as well as partner with independent coaches who can see the value of our community, of our methodology and processes, retain their roads, lead from their own messaging, their own techniques, but just use us as like a power up tool to affect the impact that they're making. So our growth lies just really around continue to do what we're doing. New clients, new practitioners, building community, deepening connection within the community, as well as globally looking at different territories. And then there's just so many exciting that we're looking at right now, and the whole AI, which we're really engaging with quite deeply. And we know within our profession, everything's changing all the time. We've won many awards of being the innovative leaders within the psychometric field. And now the game levels change. So with AI, we've got, we're fully focused on, how do we retain that edge when there's just so much happening and the speed is so fast. So there's many things that we're all juggling now when we really see the value of leveraging from AI. It's just such a powerful tool for coaches. It's very exciting.
Yeah, exciting. I mean, when you're talking about future, I got excited just by hearing you. I smile ear to ear. It seems like impact is the key word. Like, how do we impact more people to so others can experience this outcome? Is that something like that?
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, awesome. And even when things are going well, there's always something under construction, right? So what's the main thing you're actively working on or trying to improve in the business right now?
So I just want to, something you just said, that even though things are going well, there's always something more. I think we can't rest on our laurels because I think in today's world, anything can happen. The impact of AI is very big and we're very aware of that. So we don't want to become complacent. We need to consistently, we're at conferences. We want to be knowledgeable, ready, constantly. We've got a very large technology and R&D team. We're constantly looking at how can we transform and be different and better and offer that best-in-class support and solutions. So I suppose that's also an answer to your question around where is the potential threat. So it's a threat because anything can come up. We're seeing lots of fascinating things coming up on AI, and it's also a huge opportunity. So it's both.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, Nicole, you've been around long enough to see trends come and go. We were talking before podcast, right? You told me 30 years in the game. Okay. So people give business advice nonstop, especially online. So I want to tap into your experience a little bit here. What's something you hear repeated a lot that you think people misunderstand or overvalue? Like I said, it's something that possibly just sparked your attention. It's hey, this is really not something that people should be following. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think it's around goal setting and visioning. So I'm all for plan on a page, new year, vision, mission, goals, strategies. But my concern is organizations and leaders invest a lot of energy up front and then it goes in the drawer. And what I see is what's really critical is around how do you kind of collaborate with your team in its co-creation and transform a great idea that's articulated perfectly into something that's both from the heart place, engaging and inspiring, and then from a head and from a practical space gets converted into tangible actions. And there's a whole ripple of things that need to take effect to make sure it's not just a great strategy, but it's something that everybody feels part of, that everybody feels an alignment to. And then it's translated into key behaviors, how we all showing up, what is the culture, KPIs and metrics. Am I having a conversation with my leader to make sure that I'm actually held accountable? One of their key skills is being autonomous and driving, and their ideal is to work with a team that are also autonomous. But what we don't realize is that people don't work that way. They want to be engaged with, and often they need very clear boundaries. So there's something about the ongoing communication, and it's something, the systems are vital. There's got to be systems and processes, anything that can be automated. And then we need the human connection. So Pedro, when I sit with you, I care about you. How are you doing? What's going well? What isn't going well? And then you can use, the responsibilities, because it gives us this kind of framework and boundaries to look at how you're doing against that. What support do you need from me? So there needs to be a real engagement of interest. Like, I see you, I care. And there's also the hard stuff, but it can't just be this upfront huge engagement that then gets dropped. It's got to be translated at many levels: systems, processes, KPIs, and most importantly, conversations. And I'm a big lover of James Clear, Atomic Habits. If there's new habits that need to be created in a team to create a new culture, how are they going to be set up and actualized and simplified so they really take place? So if we say we are a team of innovation or client centricity, what does that really look like? What does it mean? What habits are we going to create that we are really going to live and breathe these things? So I just feel that there's follow-up on the upfront vision is critical.
Thank you for asking me to clarify that, because the response was great. I really like that. And I can resonate 100%. We were talking about coaches that I worked in the past also. And I saw that happening more often than not. It's like going to next project, but not really having a feeling of actually what happened. No data, no follow up. It's just next thing, new project. But let's stop a little. Let's track what happened. No, it's just new project. Let's test another thing. So yeah, 100%. I get that. I appreciate that response. That was great. Okay.
Maybe a summary, I would say, it's like the ecosystem. Be aware of the whole ecosystem and don't forget the heart, because what's going to make this work is the intangible that's not in writing, and that's trust. If there's trust in the system and there's no fear or threat, then people can thrive and deliver beyond. But as soon as there's any sense of fear, everything closes down. Even though you get the smiles and people pitch up and they get paid their salary, but actually there's nothing happening beneath the facade of the smile. So trust, connection is critical.
Okay. And on the flip side, Nicole, what's something boring or not as hyped that you wish more people actually paid attention to?
I love that question. My core value is kindness and compassion. My biggest wish is that people treat their partners at home or their children with as much as importance as they treat their priority clients. Because as a leader, it's so easy to drop everything for any of their key stakeholders, whether it's the top owner, CEO, founder of the business, or an important client. And then they often think they can go home and kick the door or be on their phone when they're walking through the door. And what all of us need to do is to recognize what really matters. And what really matters actually is a connection with the people that really matter the most, and to stop, to fix yourself up before you walk through the door. If you need to make that urgent call, make it. But when you open that door at home, you're ready to see, to embrace, to listen, to pause, and to really be present with your partner, with your children, with your family in a different way. So it's really about having that movement around not taking family for granted and treating them as if they're your best client ever, investing in expanding that love and connection, the listening, the seeing. I think for me, that's really important.
I love that. You're a deep thinker. I can tell the way you position yourself. I really like when you're giving me the best answers. I really like that. So that landed. Okay. It just made me think about my family. Great. Before we close this out, Nicole, if someone resonated with what you shared and wants to follow your work, where should they go?
Be in contact with me directly. You can email me at nicolesorrell@luminalearning.com, and then I'll direct you and maybe we can have a one-to-one conversation.
Okay. Awesome. There were a few moments from this conversation that really stood out to me, Nicole. How you are so community driven and how building a community is so important for you. And I can tell because the way you speak, right? There's so much passion behind it. And also I love that quote, and I'm gonna steal it if you don't mind. Is that we don't have to be reactive, right? It's about controlling our triggers, controlling our emotions. Of course, that's not easy. Easy to say, but not easy to put in practice. But that's why you have a practice, right? That's how you help people in one of those ways. That's great.
For me, it's moving from an unconscious reaction to a conscious response. And the world exists in that space in between, movement from unconscious to conscious.
Yeah, 100%. I like that advice you gave about don't get complacent, right? I really like that. We're always sharpening the blade, and there's always threats in the horizon, but also opportunities. So it's the way you frame it. I really like that. And Nicole, I really appreciate you taking the time and being so open with this. It was great having you on.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Wonderful to meet you and wonderful to engage and have this conversation.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.